Lad and the kids have been up since 4 a.m. shipping cattle. It's long, dirty work, so as a treat, I'm rustling up a rib-sticking lunch of the kids' favorite dishes. For my little rancher Bryce, it's gotta be beef, so Salisbury steak in a tasty onion gravy seems like just the ticket. I just mixed together 1.5 pounds of ground beef, then added 1/2 cup of seasoned breadcrumbs to bind it all together. Then I added 2 teaspoons of dry mustard, a crumbled beef bouillon cube, 4 dashes of Worcestershire sauce, a tablespoon of ketchup, and some salt and pepper. After that, I kneaded the mixture together, formed some oval patties. I've got some oil and butter in a hot pan, and I'll just get the patties going. Now, because the patties begin with ground beef, I want to make sure they're cooked all the way through. So I'm going to cook them for about 3 to 5 minutes on the first side. Now, after the patties are fried, I'll take them out of the pan and then I'll make a really yummy sauce. And that's what makes Salisbury steak so yummy. The patties are done. I took them out of the pan and then I drained off all the grease, didn't clean the pan, and I threw in a sliced onion, and I've been cooking that. It's nice and golden brown, so I'm gonna move into the sauce. I'll just pour 2 cups of beef broth right into the pan with the onions. You know, sometimes I call this gravy, but it's really not a gravy in the traditional sense of the word. It's more of a sauce, and the flavor of the patties really comes through. And then several dashes of Worcestershire sauce. Just eyeball it. And then for a little tang and sweetness, a tablespoon of ketchup. I'd say a heaping tablespoon. And then this is a strictly optional ingredient, but I like to add a little bit of seasoning and browning sauce into the pan. Ooh, that's gonna be nice and dark. It really doesn't do too much except it deepens the color, deepens the flavor a little bit. If you don't use it, it'll still be totally delicious. I'm gonna let that go a little bit. And to thicken it up a little, I'm going to mix some cornstarch with a little beef broth. Just enough to turn it into a paste. My mother-in-law always makes fun of me because I stir things with the measuring spoons I use, but I don't like to do dishes, so I'm in the habit of dirtying as few things as possible. All right, now I'm just gonna add a couple of tablespoons of the cornstarch mixture to the sauce. And then I'll let it cook for just a minute and see what it looks like. The cornstarch thickens the sauce, but it also makes it nice and glossy and really beautiful. If it needs more thickening, I can always add more. If the sauce gets too thick, you can splash in a little beef broth. It's real easy, you can't mess it up. Okay, this looks perfect. It's getting nice and thick. So I'm just gonna add a little salt and pepper. And it looks just so good, so pretty. You can give it a taste, adjust the seasonings as you want, but it looks just right. So now I'll just stick the patties right back into the pan, nudge them around into the sauce. And then this sauce is so wonderful. I want to spoon it over the tops of the patties. You know, the Salisbury steak, I remember, had really finely diced onions in the gravy. And if you didn't like onions, you were kind of out of luck. But I like to slice them big, and that way if a kid doesn't necessarily like onions, they can easily pick them off. All right, Salisbury steak is done. I'm just gonna let them simmer in the pan. Amazing Salisbury steak. So I'm making the meat mixture for the Salisbury steak now. So all it is ground beef, seasoned breadcrumbs. I'm adding some dry mustard and a good old ingredient from the 70s, French onion soup mix. And I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of it to the meat mixture. And then a spoonful of ketchup, just to keep it down on the sphere of earth, salt and pepper, and Worcestershire sauce. Nothing kind of new or earth-shattering about this combination. It's just good old Salisbury steak, like the kind you had at your grandmother's house. They call it steak, but they're actually burgers, okay? And they're formed to look like little steaks, and then you make sort of a brown gravy to go over the top. Okay, so this is enough meat for 4 Salisbury steaks. So I'm just gonna kind of divide it in 4 pieces visually so I don't get too big of a piece for each one. And this is the funny part. So to form Salisbury steak, you form a burger patty, but in kind of an oval shape, so it looks like a steak, okay? Then you take the side of your hand and make like little ridges down each one. And that way, when it cooks, it kind of cooks like a steak.
Like grill marks.
That's what Grandma used to do. Okay, so that's 1 Salisbury steak, and I'm gonna do the same thing with 3 more. Okay, so I got the 4 Salisbury steaks formed, and I've got a skillet with a little bit of olive oil and butter, and I'm just gonna set them in. I'm gonna put them with kind of the ridges down and cook that side first. 1, 2, 3, 4. My grandma would be so proud of me. Okay, so I'm gonna let them start cooking on the first side, and I'm gonna wash my hands, and then I'll finish cooking them and take them out of the pan. Oh, look at those juicy steaks. Okay, so now normally I would pour off excess grease, but the beef was pretty lean, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it. There's not too much in the pan, but there's just enough to start on the delicious gravy that goes with the Salisbury steak. So I'm sprinkling a little bit of flour into the skillet, and I'm just gonna let it cook for a little bit, just 30 seconds or so. Just turn it into a paste and whisk it into all of those drippings on the bottom of the pan, scraping up all that good stuff. All right, and now for the fun part. I'm gonna turn off the heat because I've learned my lesson. And I'm gonna add about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup of sherry, which is the update for this Salisbury steak. Now, when my grandma made Salisbury steak, she never used any sort of alcohol. It was definitely kind of a family-friendly, middle America dish. So now that the alcohol has evaporated, I turned the heat back on. And can you smell that, Alex?
Yeah, it smells so good.
It really smells amazing. And it's already starting to thicken, which is great. So I'm gonna pour in some beef broth. And I'm gonna keep whisking while I pour it in, just so it keeps getting hot and keeps mixing in. I wanna make sure I get all of that good stuff scraped off the bottom of the pan. All righty. And then the sauce needs a little ketchup too. I don't want the sauce to feel left out. Alex is not a ketchup fan, so this is a stretch for her right now.
Yeah.
All right. And then this good old French onion soup packet, I'm gonna add the rest of it. So I'm gonna let this heat up and bubble and thicken. So give me just a couple minutes for that. Okay, Alex, look at this brown gravy. It's not like thick gravy, but it'll thicken up more as it sits. So I'm gonna turn the heat way down and back to our Salisbury steaks. I'm gonna put it right back into the gravy. And then this is the key with Salisbury steak. You've got to spoon that brown gravy all over the steaks. And ideally, you add the steaks back into the gravy and let them kind of simmer for about 10 minutes and keep spooning the gravy over the steaks. Really amazing. So I'm gonna sprinkle on some parsley. I don't remember my grandma ever sprinkling fresh parsley over hers, but she probably wanted to. All right, retro Salisbury steaks, the way my grandma used to make them. Well, out here on the ranch, I can say without a doubt that it does not get any more cowboy friendly than chicken fried steak. The guys have been working so hard for the last 2 weeks, getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. And while we don't eat chicken fried steak every day, right now is the time that they really need something that sticks to their ribs. I've seasoned this cube steak on both sides with salt and pepper, and then it goes into a seasoned flour mixture. I've got some cayenne, paprika, seasoned salt, a little salt and pepper. After the flour, it goes into an egg and milk mixture. The reason this is called chicken fried steak is it has a breading on it that resembles fried chicken. It's kind of confusing to people who aren't familiar with the dish. They want to know where the chicken is. Okay, once it's heavily breaded, you can set it aside. I've got some chicken fried steak already frying in a big skillet with oil and a little butter for color, and that's what brings the cowboys to the kitchen. This really is a great assembly line. If you just get it going, you can bread these while the other ones are cooking, take them out, and then it's ready to put the other ones on. These need to cook for about 2 to 2.5 minutes per side until they're nice and golden. Okay, the steak's all done. The mashed potatoes are in the oven, and now I'm going to make the gravy. You cannot have chicken fried steak without gravy. It's written in a law somewhere. So I started by draining off most of the oil from the pan where I cooked the meat. And I'm sprinkling in the seasoned flour that I used to bread the steak. It's really difficult to give a precise recipe for gravy because there's so much eyeballing going on. You just add a little grease, sprinkle on a little flour, stir it together. Basically, you want to add enough flour into the pan that the mixture is more of a paste and doesn't have that greasy, oily appearance. So I'm going to grab some milk. Whole milk, please. You can't make gravy with skim milk, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to turn up the heat just a bit and then whisk the whole time while I pour the milk into the pan. It looks really weird when you first start pouring the milk in, and you'll become filled with self-doubt. You'll worry if you've messed it up, but just stick with it. And as you're whisking, listen to this. That sound you hear are the little bits of flavor that were in the bottom of the pan after I cooked the meat. And that's what makes the gravy delicious. So you want to scrape all of that up so it becomes part of the gravy. And at this point, it's just about babysitting the gravy. Never leave your wingman. If you can master the fine art of gravy with chicken fried steak, you can do most things in life. Even if the gravy has plenty of salt, you always need to add more black pepper. Cowboys love black pepper in their gravy.
Man, it doesn't get any better than this.
A lot of people say, you know, I love steak, but I don't want to eat steak and potatoes every night. I always direct them to the big steak salad. It's one of my favorite beef recipes. It's pretty much a huge salad with a big juicy steak on top, and then another thing on top, and I'll wait before I tell you about that. It's a pretty decadent dish. I've got 2 ribeye steaks, putting them in a plastic bag, and I'm gonna let them sit for just a short amount of time in this delicious marinade. It's an Asian-influenced marinade. The first ingredient is canola oil, red wine vinegar, and also balsamic vinegar, some Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, and then for some zip, a couple of tablespoons of fresh lime juice, a little sugar for a hint of sweetness, garlic, some minced fresh ginger, hot chili oil, salt, and black pepper. Believe me, it's good. Now I'll just pour half the marinade into the bag with the steaks. And the great news about this is it doubles as the salad dressing, so I'll save that for later. Now I'll just seal up the bag. I'm gonna let the steaks marinate for about 5 to 10 minutes. You can let them go longer if you have the time, but you don't have to. Now, one of the best parts about this salad is I top the whole thing with thin fried onion rings. I've got 2 onions and I sliced them really, really thin, and I'm just gonna do a quick soak with some buttermilk. It's just gonna moisten them up, take a little bit of the pungent onion flavor away. And while they're sitting, I'll make the dry mixture, and that's just 2 cups of flour and a good amount of salt, just about a tablespoon or so. About a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, gives them a little kick, and then just some regular pepper. Then I'll whisk this together. Okay, now I've got some oil going. It's about 350, 360. So I'm gonna stir the onion rings around just a little bit. And then I'll just take a little bunch, let the buttermilk drip off, drop them into the flour mixture, and then I'll pick them up and hit the tongs on the side of the pan, and that just helps the excess flour drop off. And then I'll just plunge them into the oil, and these are gonna fry in no time. I'm gonna do them in batches so they'll cook really evenly, and they are gonna be golden and crisp and out of this world. The onion rings are just about done. I'm just taking out the last of them. All right, I'll turn that off. Now I'll get the steaks going for the big steak salad. I've got a grill pan. That's a nice shortcut way to grill things. Gives things nice grill marks without having to go outside and light a big fire. All right, 1 steak, 2 steaks. Now I'll let those sit. They're gonna go about 2 to 3 minutes per side. So I'll get started on the salad ingredients. I've just got a big old box of mixed greens, arugula, radicchio. You can use any lettuce you want. All right, now I'll just throw in some whole grape tomatoes. I'm not even gonna cut them up. Okay, spread all that out. Now I'm gonna slice the steaks. I'll go against the grain and just slice sort of thin strips. I love warm steak and cold salad. It's one of life's real pleasures. Okay, and then of course, the grand finale. I'll just grab a nice handful of onion strings and put them right on top of the salad. I know I am breaking a few rules here, but I don't care. This is so delicious. Steak salad sandwich board. That way everybody can eat their steak however they want. This is great for family dinner or if you're having company over. The first step is to season a bunch of sliced onions and 2 good-looking ribeye steaks. And all I'm using is lemon pepper seasoning, and those look great. And then I'm gonna sprinkle on some salt too. And I've got a grill that is really heating up here. So I'm gonna brush on some olive oil first just to make sure the steak doesn't stick. And I'll put the seasoned side down, and that way I can season the other side. Okay, now I've just gotta grill the steaks, then I'll take them off the grill pan, grill the onions, then I'll make some horseradish mayo, get bread ready, slice the steaks, and I will see you on the other side. So for the steak, I'll give them 5 minutes on the first side, turn them, and cook them for 4 more minutes until they're medium rare. Then I'll take them out onto a board and just let them rest. Next, I'll put the onion rounds on and cook them for about 5 minutes. Now for the horseradish mayo. So for this, I'll add ½ a cup of mayo to a bowl, along with ½ a cup of sour cream, 3 tablespoons of prepared horseradish, a teaspoon of Worcestershire, ½ a teaspoon of black pepper, a good pinch of salt. Give everything a good mix and tip it into a serving bowl. Okay, back to the onions. I'll just turn them and give them a few more minutes. Then it's all about the crusty bread. Put it on a board and cut slices. The onions are ready, so I'll take them off. And finally, it's about slicing the steak. And with that, everything's good to go. Okay, I do believe I have everything I need to build this steak salad sandwich board. So I'm gonna start with the steaks, and I'm gonna arrange everything on this beautiful board. With the steak, I'm gonna put some slices of bread. Now, these beautiful onions, the lettuce, beautiful tomato slices. And then I have sliced white cheddar, this beautiful horseradish mayo, sliced green onions to put on the steak, a little bit of sea salt over the tomatoes. It is absolutely glorious. Now, when it comes time to serving up, there are 2 ways to go. Let me show you both of them. You could opt for a lovely salad with the juicy steak on a bed of leaves with the pick of the goodies from the board. Or this, all of those same elements piled high on one awesome sandwich.